Suzuza. Arise for Ghana, of patron of the land, for weather and seek your future, development our goal, from victory to victory, the end is surely, able democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from victory to victory, the end is surely, stable democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. Ejo bana Victory is our land. Victory is our land. JJ is a winner. Arise for Ghana, of the truck of the land, forward and secure future, development our goal, from victory to victory, the end is surely, stable democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity.
Hello and good evening once again, and you are most welcome to the On the Ground show, where we say it as it is. And thank you to all our so far 209 people are already with us, and we are very grateful for your patience and staying on with us. Today we come your way with another wonderful episode of this show. And what is the issue at stake? A few days ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, on the second phase of his thank you tour, found himself in the Brong-Ahafo region, and he did make certain statements. In a broadcast, he made us to understand that the election 2024 is not going to be an election that we will allow anything to be determined by the Supreme Court. He made certain statements, he made certain utterances. And today we want to have a look at those utterances. We want to look at what has happened before and how does these utterances help us going into 2024. And we are most privileged this evening to have no other person than our big man himself, Honorable Fifi Kwetey. We all know who he is. He is a person who says it as it is, and he's a person of his great word. He has been a minister of state, and just recently, we would say he has been a representative of the people of Kwetey. And today, he's an ex-MP, and with all the experiences that he has gained from the House of Parliament and his involvement in the governance system of the country, today he will share his experiences with us. We will look again at a statement that he brought out in support of what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said, and thereafter we will see what we can do. Honorable Fifi Kwetey, we are very privileged to have you this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be with you, Jerome.
Lovely. Honorable, before we start the show, we want to recap a few of the interview of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And then he made a follow-up again. And thereafter, we will look at your statement as well. And then you will take us into the way forward. I will now indulge the producer to give us a bite of the interview that His Excellency granted.
That's very well.
Yes,
That's very well.
BCP na odisianyansa. Yes, the 2020 sianyansa. Elections, no, it will be won or lost at the polling station.
I see.
And the polling station, they better do or die. Because all die be die. They better do or die. The right thing must be done.
2024.
2024 polling station, and you better win the election. No, you train and ma yankase collation center and at the Supreme Court they be collation center and a polling station home. We will do everything to make sure that the election is free, transparent, and fair. Young person, we are MPP for. We don't want to cheat them. Yes, young person will be a baby. My banning young French him. Na Ghana for Peno. Near Ghana for Akumasono. Let that be what is done.
That is the first.
You can use ballot papers, electoral materials, I got to go. And then I'm here.
Oh, Jerome, it looks like there's a bit of a challenge. I don't know where's the network at my end.
Okay, now we're playing the second part of the interview. Okay. Producer, please.
Yeah, election, you can use ballot papers, electoral materials, I got to go. And then I'm here. That's why we say this election, there was fraud in this election. And so, you didn't rate it. You say if you are dissatisfied, go to the court. You call court say, I don't know. But I know in America say, we learn lessons from it. Into the next election, and go Supreme Court view. We will do it at the polling station and collation center. And we say it will be a do or die.
Your Excellency,
school in term. They don't understand do or die.
Your Excellency, Wadaroma,
do or die. It's an English idiom.
Okay.
It's an Kasabia yawo Kasakwan.
Okay.
Over Africa ha. Your proverbs, you bube.
Sure.
And you can't was some young country in the straight format. Also, you're the best and the back. In English, your idiomatic expressions.
Sure.
Omo free school in terms of say idiomatic expressions as here. Do or die means a critical assignment you have, and you must do the needful or perish. And so you must do the needful. I say, make us say, and this is me and train and go Supreme Court to be. There was here a year of polling station and the collation center. I was here. And so I don't retract. The next election for NDC is going to be a do or die affair.
So you do the right thing.
You must do the right thing at the polling station. And so I'm telling all our party executives, you must be at that polling station and make sure the right thing is done. You must be at the collation center and make sure the right thing is done. Don't abdicate your responsibility at that level and expect that after somebody has stolen the election, you go to Supreme Court to see if they will turn the election for you. They won't do it. Maintain sign is a do or die affair. It's an English idiom. Bubianko be in the dictionary and see what do or die means. It's different from all die be die. All die be die, broken English, pidgin jargon, but we do or die could be a dictionary in that. And I say it's a do or die affair. NDC must man the polling stations, they must man the collation centers, make sure the pink sheets are correct, make sure we get the right results and everything, because if you'll be from a flag bearer, on the because of the Supreme Court. But say, NDC flag bearer, I'm not going to the Supreme Court. We must win at the polling station and the collation center. And Electoral Commission would have no option but to declare who the true winner is. Depends on the people of Ghana. I'm hopeful that NDC will win the next election because we need to get this impunity out of the place. There's no way NPP is going to investigate itself. So corruption and sweep. Almost break the 8 so that they'll get another 8 and sweep everything under the carpet. They be also not gonna afford to be sharing your own tissue. Maybe I know beyond our tissue. Kosa. Also, sorry, near shed now. I want to see.
Okay.
So let them go, and then the people of Ghana can hold them to account. Everybody has done that. Kufo Koye, Ronnie Koye, Kufo held him to account. Kufo Koye, Mills came and held him to account. So you two go, Koye, you arrested some of our people, you put them before trial. There's no way this government can investigate itself. 2024 is a critical election, both for them and for us. And I'm saying that for NDC, it's a do or die affair.
As good for Chalawati.
Wonderful. Honorable, you have listened to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's statements. Probably just to follow that with your own statement, and then what's the way forward for us as a country and us as a political party?
Thank you very much, my brother Jerome, and to all your many viewers and listeners as well. Let me say that, to be honest, I'm surprised about the whole outrage. I kind of think it's almost a stage false outrage. People who are deliberately pretending not to understand what our former president and the flag bearer of the NDC said. I honestly think that what he's saying is just in line with what the founder of this party has said from the very beginning. NDC is founded on a spirit known as positive defiance. And this do or die is simply a restatement of that essential spirit of the NDC, which is a positive defiant spirit. And that positive defiant spirit comes from the very national anthem of our country. The part of that anthem we say is, help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and our might forevermore. Now, so if anything at all, every single Ghanaian should actually celebrate this statement, because this statement comes from the very national anthem of our nation, which calls on us to make sure we do everything possible to ensure that right things are done. What was emphasized by the founder of our party, Jerry Rawlings, when he kept saying that there must be the need for positive defiance. Positive defiance means rise up to ensure that the right thing is done. Don't sit and wait for wrong things to be done and be screaming, Fama Nyami, Fama Nyami, Fama Nyami. No, rise up and make sure the right thing gets done. That's the way it ought to be. So what, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said, I really do not understand why anybody will pretend they do not understand what he's trying to say. I think what they've done is simply to claim that simply because there is wasn't a part of the expression that has to do with die, it means that die means you are going to kill somebody. I mean, there's no way to misinform people more than that. Do or die has nothing to do with killing anybody, has nothing to do with creating violence. It simply has to do with making sure you do everything possible for the right thing to be done in any situation. Really, that's what it is.
And let's now look at what happened in the run-up to 2012. We had His Excellency the President, who had the mantra of all die we die. But the interesting part of the whole show is that the MPP went to the Supreme Court in 2013, and they came up saying that they disagreed with the ruling of the court, but they have to allow for the country to run. In 2020, NDC were also in court, and we also disagreed with the Supreme Court ruling, but for the sake of the development and the peace of the country, we allow things to go. Do we see 2024 election to be a peaceful election?
Let's say it this way. We've gone through several elections in our country, right from 92 all the way to 2020. And you will recall that even though in the run-up to every single election from 92 all the way to 2016, there were always, the fear always existed that maybe there will be violence, things will degenerate, people will die, there will be bloodshed. We didn't lose one soul in any election. From 1992 all the way, not one soul had ever been killed on an election day. It's never happened before. But for the first time in our history, in 2020, we lost as many as 8 souls on the day of election. Now, what that tells you is that whoever was in charge of this country over that period of the election is a different kind of leader. President Rawlings was in charge in 92, not one drop of blood was shed. 96, President Rawlings, not one drop of blood was shed. 2000, President Rawlings, not one drop of blood was shed. And we are talking here about a military man who was called a military dictator. Not one drop, not an ounce of blood was shed. President Kufuor came, gentle giant, 2004, not one drop of blood. 2008, even though the one who became the subsequent leader of the MPP was in charge of the MPP at the time, and would have wished for violence to happen. It didn't happen because relatively President Kufuor, who was then in charge, relatively far more peaceful than him, ensured that not one drop of blood was shed. Subsequent to that, 2012, President Mahama was in charge. 2016, President Mahama, peaceful. And then 2020, Nana Akufo-Addo, now fully in charge. And for the first time in our history, we saw 8 people. Yeah, so what I'm going to say is that 2024, we hope for the best, but we must prepare for the worst. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. And to prepare for the worst means we must understand that we are dealing with a group that absolutely can do anything for power. And therefore, we have to make sure that we checkmate every possibility. And that's why the people's resistance, the people's movement has to be strong. There's nothing stronger than the people who are determined to ensure that the right things are done. When individuals, even if unarmed, are determined and are ready, even the military and security forces that somebody tried to misuse, think twice because of the collective resolve of the people and their determination. So I'm saying, yes, let's hope for the best in 2024, but let us prepare for the worst because we are dealing with a group that we have never seen before. This is the world at the moment is facing a pandemic, but I tell you, the leadership of this country is worse than a pandemic. The current leadership is far worse than a pandemic. It's the biggest pandemic anyone can face. It's a group of fascists who absolutely will do anything for power. And if you are dealing with such people, you just have to make sure you leave no stone unturned in your determination to ensure that every legitimate means is used for the will of the people, to emerge. And I think we should work hard to do that.
Honorable, if you say we are dealing with a group of people that can do anything at all for power, are you probably picking that from what we saw in the Ayawasu by-election and what we saw in the current, the 2020 election? Now,
absolutely.
If it is so, why would probably it happen at a time that we agreed as political parties to disband all our vigilante groups? NDC, there is no, as we speak now, we don't have any vigilante groups in any part of this country. And unfortunately for the MPP, from, let me say, not confirmed sources, but their vigilante group members have been integrated into the security services. Is that not more dangerous for the country in terms of our security?
Yeah, what you have said exactly is a correct thing. Under the guise of Ayawasu West Wagon, all the 2 parties were asked to disband. And clearly NDC, you can see, complied. MPP pretended to comply, but what they've done actually is to make sure they push all their hooligans, their hoodlums into the security forces, some of which we have seen even during the Yawasu West Wagon. Remember, they used, under the guise of national security, what they actually did was to allow their hoodlums to wear those uniforms and come and cause mayhem in that West Wagon election, by election. Now, so exactly a bigger one of it is what we saw during the election proper, where they decided that, listen, by hook or by crook. That actually, if President Mahama had used the word hook or crook, then you can actually say that he's advocating for violence. You understand? I mean, because that truly is what it, you see. The thing about our friends on the other side is that the very same thing they condemn is what they love to do the most. Now, so when they are shouting that do or die is wrong, it is because deep down in their heart, they fully believe in what you call all die be die. So they assume that the moment you mention do or die, you are talking about what it is they are themselves expert in. And that is what we need to understand, that we are dealing with a group that absolutely cannot be trusted. And therefore, we have to make sure that every step of the way, like sorry, it looks like there was a little challenge. Like Azuma used to say, if you are going into let's call it a do or die battle, like when Azuma was going to Australia to go and fight Finech, he decided that, listen, I'm going into what you call the lion's den. I'm going into the very bedroom of my opponent. Therefore, I'm entering in there with my own judges. I'm leaving no stone unturned. I'm knocking out my opponent in a way that no referee, no officials will be able to cheat me. That is the spirit of which we approach the 2024 election. Ensure that every step of the way, the defeat is so clear. Our victory is so clear that there's nothing they can do but to admit that they have been beaten fair and square, and we are capable of doing it. We've done it before. We are capable of doing it again.
And I'm pretty sure NDC will do it definitely come 2024. One point of concern has also been that His Excellency made mention that the youth seems to be losing confidence in the governance system of the country, especially from the two political parties, which is very dangerous for the development of the country. What is your position on that as well, and from where you sit?
If you watch all over the world, even in the most advanced democracies, and I'm sure it's not different from Germany where you operate, and Europe, America, there is a wave of, should I call it, disenchantment with the body politic. In Europe, mostly you notice it in terms of even the low turnout in many of your elections. So you can see that at a certain level, people feel as if the whole system of governance is not delivering the best result. So to an extent, we are facing a bit of that issue as well. But the real difference in our situation is this. And to be honest, it is largely again the problem of the NPP. The people of Ghana do know that there's no party that can make a miracle and solve every problem. I think they know that. They appreciate that even at the family level, individual members of family know that you cannot create any miracle that will suddenly change your income level at the family level. So they know that things happen, but they happen slowly. So, I think generally people appreciate. If you go through every rural area of Ghana, towns, villages, they know that there's no group that can come into office and suddenly find money and provide every single development project and be able to provide every job and raise everybody's income. I think generally there's an acceptance. But you see, what discourages the people most, and especially what makes the young people lose hope, is when you start doing what you call adding insult to the injury. When you deliberately go and lie to them, and then when you come to power, you start doing the very opposite of what you say. And worse than that, when the people even point out to you that you are breaking promises, you insult their intelligence by telling them that, listen, they don't understand what is going on. Clearly, the people can see that you are breaking promises. All they expect of you is to have the humility to say, you know what? Yes, I promised this. It's been difficult. It's not been as easy as I thought it would be. But give me opportunity because I'm working hard to see how I can resolve it. Even if I can't do all, I'm going to try to do some of it. They expect some amount of humility, some amount of candor, ability to tell the truth. And unfortunately, what has happened over the last 4.5 years have been a group that are pathological liars. I mean, they have no humility. They have no capacity to be able to say, you know what? I think we overdid it. This, that, and that, and that was what we promised. We've not been able to. But this is some of the reasons why things have been difficult, and therefore give us a little time to see how we can resolve it. I think that is what has made the young people in particular become very, very disenchanted, because they feel now that politics is all about lying. Politics is all about false promises. You just come and lie to them. When I come, I'm going to make sure every single one of you get a job. You know it's not true. So, in fact, to be honest, President Mahama's politics, it's politics that tells you about what it is we will endeavor to do, but it's humble enough to accept when there are difficulties. So you can imagine, for example, when we were in office, from 2013, when President Mahama, won election, even though Doomsor was not created by the NDC, Doomsor has been a problem that has been there perennially. He took that responsibility. He did not go blaming previous government. He did not say, for example, that 8 years of the MPP, they added too little to the energy grid of the country. That's why we are having problems. No, he did not do that. He took it like a man, made a promise to the country that, you know what, it's a big problem. It has been there, but I promise you I will resolve it. And by the end of 2015, early part of 2016, he had actually resolved that problem. When you do things like that, you build faith. But when you deliberately come to office, make promises, and you end up doing the very opposite of those promises, what you do is destroy the faith of especially the youth. The youth feel leadership should be about trustworthiness. Leadership should be about credibility. Unfortunately, what our friends have done over the last 4.5 years has been to destroy faith in politics. That's why every legitimate means must be employed to ensure that this dangerous virus, in the form of NPP, in the form of Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, the most, should I call it, the biggest pandemic that had afflicted this country since independence. Everything must be done to make sure that it go.
Wow. And I believe strongly that your party is putting everything in place to ensure that we win the confidence of the people of the country to enable us get these people out of office. Honorable, let me take you a little bit backwards, because if you look at the time of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in office, anytime he went to commission a project, the project was fully completed and functional. Today, and we have an issue, very interesting, that the president had to travel all the way from Accra with a convoy over 40 vehicles, SUVs and all that, to the Volta region to go and commission a project. I think we can, producer, can you please just show us the project that the president commissioned? Okay, this is the flyer. A lorry park and a storm. And your Honorable, this is the drainage, the storm drainage that His Excellency the President drove in that long convoy from Accra to Volta region to go and commission. Now
you can understand. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you come in on this before I now move ahead.
Jerome, I'm just saying that you can understand why a lot more people will lose hope in politics, because this is nothing but deception of the people. I mean, we're talking about a president who is in charge of the national resources. There are things that, as an MP or even as a district chief executive, you do and you are proud about, because you know what? And to whom little is given, little is expected. But unto whom much is given, much is expected. You don't, this is something that you should leave for your district chief executive, okay, or your member of parliament to go and commission. You don't insult, a sovereign people who have much bigger needs, and you go and commission them and tell them this is what I've done for you. Please, we've been in power. You never saw us do a thing like this. But for them to do what they've done, it's simply because they believe, you know what, you can deceive the people. Because I can tell you, I mean, that's their business. They believe that the people are naive. Just do something and throw some dust in their eyes and use your machinery and spin and spin and spin, and some way, somehow you'll be able to win power. Because for them, this is not a journey of development. This is simply a journey to be able to win power. And that power is simply meant for their own selfish purposes. So do anything just to be able to hold on to that power and to selfish purposes. And that's why we continue seeing what we are saying. And this is a group that have the greatest resource envelope in the history of our country. Borrowed far more than Kwame Nkrumah all the way to John Mahama 2016. If you put together all the money that we have borrowed, this group in 4 years borrowed far more than that. Has access to the greatest oil proceeds in our history. 3 big oil fields and the resources that came from that. This group inherited huge resources in the form of Ghana Infrastructure Fund, Exim Bank. Huge gross reserves were handed over to them. A huge portfolio of massive investment was handed over to them. And in spite of all that, these are some of the paltry things that they are doing, thinking that somehow the people are going to continue being deceived so that they will continue being in power.
But it's you're honorable, and there is a little drift here. They have borrowed more than all the governments since independence, and yet they claim they have a lot to show for as compared to the NDC in your previous administration. And I just want us to look at something. Recently, because of the COVID, they had free money from the IMF. Yeah. And again, we had this another set of free money, about $1 billion or so, which is the balance withdrawal. Yes. That money is not only Ghana that received it. There were several other countries that received it. Sure. But when you look at the commentary from their side, especially the quote unquote the Prime Minister saying that their government, because of their good works, they've been able to receive that amount from IMF free of charge, unlike NDC that got money from IMF with conditionalities. What do you have to say about this?
It's sad. It's very sad. It's very sad. To even realize that we are talking about the same group of people who said Ghana has no need to borrow, that we know where the money is, and that what we are bringing what was the word? We are changing the situation from what we are ending taxation and bringing what you call productivity into the country. And then you condemn the NDC, that NDC was borrowing too much and there was no need to saddle this country with debt. And then you come and you are now starting to boast about your ability to go and borrow. It's tragic. It's sad. But that is the group we are dealing with. It's a group that has no shame. It's a group that has no shame. And the people of Ghana, I pray, are becoming more and more awakened to knowing who they are. I have said it all the time, and President Rawlings used to say that if the people of Ghana can know the DNA of these Dankwa Busia people, there's no way these people can ever win an election in the history of our country. No way. But unfortunately, sometimes after the people have tasted a bit of the development, like happened, if you know a bit of the Bible, after the children of Israel were taken out of Egypt, and the initial happiness and jubilation, it wasn't long after they started desiring to go back to Egypt. And that seems to be the difficulty we are facing in this country, where they see a group that absolutely sacrifices to see transformation and development. We are not perfect, but they see far more development, far more transformation. But after a period of time, when these guys start doing exactly what was being done in the wilderness by the deceit, the lies, the subterfuge, the hypocrisy, then somehow our people fall prey and start desiring to see them again. And this is exactly what it is we have seen over the last 4.5 years. I pray to God that the remaining 3 years that are left, 3 years and a little that are left, somehow more of the scales will fall off the eyes of our people, so that there will be a total resolution to ensure that once and for all, when these people leave, the opportunity to come back will be reduced until there is a genuine change in their hearts. Because honestly, I don't think they are a group of people who should be given opportunities again and again, because somehow they hardly learn. They hardly learn.
I think you are right on that point, because even what's his name, the majority leader, has told his people that if they go out of government, it's most likely that they will return to power in 12 years. So they have realized the pain they have inflicted on the people of the country, and it might be difficult to convince them once again. Well, let's move our conversation a little, because to our own organization. To be able to win the 2024 election, we need to do a proper reorganization from the grassroots up to the greatest part of the party. Apart from our political party members, it means that we have a lot more to still get from the non-political actors.
That's true.
What lies ahead as a political party in this organization?
You know, if you saw what happened at the beginning of this year with the Fix the Country movement, and you saw generally what happened in the last election in terms of the way big what you call personalities of the MPP, in terms of their MPs were losing their positions left, right, and center, their seats were being lost, and so on. You clearly will see that there is a desire for better things to be done, that the people are expecting. Now, so we as a party need to understand more and more the spirit that is within the people of Ghana. It's a spirit that is simply not asking for a change, but they are asking for genuine transformation. Especially the young people who are becoming tired of politics want much more truthfulness, much more credibility, and also good ideas that will be able to help accelerate the transformation of our people. And I think those are some of the things that we need to appreciate as a political party. That we have over time disconnected a bit from our history, because a lot of the young people do not really know the history. So if you don't know your history, often you make mistakes. So we need to tell our history more. We need to let young people appreciate that this country, once upon a time, was in a state of collapse, was on its knees. It took a group of people to start lifting this country and place in a place where there is more.
Well, we have a technical hitch, and we hope that Honorable will rejoin us shortly. But once again, good evening, and you are live on the ground show, and you find us live on Ben YOGH social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and then on Twitter. And for those of you who are watching us and with us on this program, you can kindly leave all the questions or whatever commentary that you have on the sections of the comments, and we will bring them to the notice of Honorable Fifi Kwetey, and then he will answer them for us. But it's great to always have you all the time, and wherever you are, ensure that every Thursday at this time, you are part of us, and we say it as it is, and you'll be well informed. Going forward, 2024 will be a done deal for the National Democratic Congress. Never lose hope in a political party that has brought a lot of development to the people of the country. Today, we can always hit our chest out and tell you, in terms of education, we have provided enough. We have a lot of infrastructure that we have provided that everyone sees. In terms of health facilities, we are there. In terms of infrastructure in general, the party that you can rely on is the National Democratic Congress. But as it is now, we just come your way every evening on a Thursday to put everything before you that you hear from the horse's own mouth, and we'll answer your questions as they come up. So we pray that within the shortest possible time, we'll resolve this technical issue, and then we will continue with the program. But for the time being, we've seen a few of your comments that are coming up. And I think we would be reading them gradually and showing them as we wait for his honorable to rejoin the feed. There is an honorable is just to share things with us. I've seen someone asking whether, okay, the person is saying the incoming General Secretary of the NDC. That's interesting. I hope that, well, we'll keep trying to see how best we can have a powerful incoming General Secretary. But fortunately for us, we still have one General Secretary. That is General Mosquito. Eric Abuaji is asking, I'm on board. Honorable, are you contesting for national secretary? No, he's just here to share with us. As he comes, he will answer the question for you if it is necessary. Okay, Honorable, welcome back. But whilst you were away,
sorry. Yeah, technology. Sorry about that.
A few of the comments that are coming now, which are quite interesting, but we will come to that one later. So maybe you could still take off from where we ended.
Yeah. So I was saying that we need to tell our story better, remind especially the young people who we are, where we are coming from, because a lot of things we used to take for granted, many of this young generation don't remember. They don't remember how this country was at a low ebb. We were virtually a nation on its knees, collapsed, until a group of people rescued this country, started lifting us up. And that group is actually who the NDC represents. They don't know that history. They remember Kwame Nkrumah, they remember Rawlings vaguely, but the truth about how this movement that is now known as NDC was a movement that effectively rescued this country from collapse and set us on a path of stability. Even this whole constitutional journey was our baby. And how we have ensured every step of the way that we have done everything possible for the acceleration of this country. The young people need to be told that story. Somehow, what we've done is to allow MPP to deceive them by shouting all these free. So somehow a lot of young people think that, these are the humanitarians who really love country, when in real truth, we have no equal when it comes to the genuine commitment to the development of this country and to the broad development of this country. And we do it not by, we don't put differences, we just develop every aspect of the country as you must do, as a good leader must do, as opposed to what we have today, where every single thing is done in order to benefit a clique, a group of people, some family and friends. Every step of the way, it is simply that small group. We are a group that are truly committed to the whole. So I think a lot of that work has to be done on our own side, and we have time to be able to do it.
I actually, Honorable, I believe so that we have a lot of work to do. I am saying this on the pretext that, you mentioned about this youth that went on Fix the Country demonstration. Unfortunately, we have a government that has also that has set up another contrary group fixing the country demonstration. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, because if you're a government and you are working, you don't need to tell people that you are fixing the country. The people need to see it by themselves. But true. There is one creeping problem that is coming up. You will see that this group of people with a Fix the Country demonstrator or conveners or whatever, they try to lump NDC with MPP. Yeah. They equally count the NDC and MPP are all the same.
That's true.
How do we disabuse the minds of our plenty followers that NDC and MPP can never and ever be the same?
Absolutely. You're right about that. I mean, what it is that they are taking the frustration that they are feeling as a result of the deception of the NPP and assuming that somehow all politicians are lies. And ours is to be able to explain why we have credibility. Give them our track record. We are not people who have come promising you the moon and delivering nothing. Every step of the way, in fact, often NDC, we under-promise, we over-deliver. And so we can take every aspect. Every aspect. I mean, there is no situation where we will tell you we will do this and not go ahead and get that done. So I gave you, for example, the issue about Doomsor, something that no government in our history has been able to resolve. We resolve it. And resolve that in what, 3 short years, between 2013 to 2015. We resolved something that all previous governments struggled to resolve. That's a massive development. I mean, you remember that in that same period as well, we have what you call this huge legacy of debts that were crippling the whole energy sector. And this legacy of debt came as a result of decades of what you call wrong policy. We resolved that by bringing what you call the ESLA fund, which ESLA fund now provides money to be able to make sure that all those companies that are operating within the energy sector, critical for every country, were taken care of. So we are people who make promises and we make sure we deliver those promises. Even when we are not able to do all, you can clearly see a genuine commitment. As opposed to these people, you know what they do? When in the past, because they were such blatant liars, and we caught them during the period 2001, 2008 about how they deceived the people and did nothing. So this time, I know what they decided to do. What they decided to do now is that, okay, you know what, we can't really do. So what we are going to do is that we will do it shortly. You understand? But what is worth doing is worth doing well. So, for example, they were afraid that we are going to expose them about their lies relating to free SHS. So what they've done, to rush the implementation, and the process hand us into what you call this green, yellow, or the traffic lights free SHS that we have. I mean, with our children going hungry in school, not enough food for them, because you know they're trying because it's all a fear that NDC is going to expose us. So let's just do anything. Let's do something and tell the people we've done. After all, that will make us win election. Because their genuine commitment is not the development or the well-being of our people. It's just throw something there in order to be able to use it to win election. And so we need to explain that. You see, NDC, somehow our weakness often is that we do not tell our story fully. So we are like a full barrel. A full barrel don't make noise. But unfortunately, we are living in times that you need to at least make some noise for people to know. Now, so we allow these empty barrels to make all the noise. And somehow the people tend to start feeling that, oh, these guys really are that good. Meanwhile, they are not. So we need to tell our story and say it confidently. Talk in a manner that the people will know the clear difference between us and them. You know? And I've said it again, that the very final rally that was addressed by President Rawlings, I'm talking NDC rally, that was in Cape Coast in 2016. He mentioned something, and I think this party must remember those words. He said, be careful not to become like them. We need to start clearly demarcating who we are. The clear difference between us and who they are. Our DNA is different from their DNA. But somehow in the process, you see situations where some of our own people are allowing their DNA to become part of our DNA. So it becomes difficult to make a differentiation between us and them. We need to start defining ourselves better. Our definition for ourselves has not been good enough. We've often told the people that we are a social democratic group. But you see, the ordinary people do not understand that language well. We need to explain what it is we truly are. We are not just about ensuring that there is as much social and economic justice. We are a pragmatic political party. We are a party that genuinely believes in overall broad development of our people. We do not believe in discrimination. We're a party that respects the people. We do not go about lying to people like these people do. We are not a party that believes in the end justify the means. Therefore, use every lies, use every deception just to be able to grab power. We believe that when power is given to you, do the best you can. Why? Because we are coming from a founder who truly believed in laying foundations that will bring transformation and change. And we should take inspiration from those foundations. Take inspiration from those, what you call core principles, from where we are coming, and be able to take our people along with us. And I think once we start doing that, the young people in particular will clearly see the difference. And I mean, with that difference, they will trust us again. They will know that, yeah, there's no perfect group. No political party is perfect. But this party can be trusted more.
Wonderful. Honorable, there is a question that has repeated itself severally. Let me just see if you can. It says, Honorable, how many Ghanaian teachers voted against NDC in 2016? And that is why they were deceived about the payment of their arrears. Unfortunately, they went for the MPP until now the arrears hasn't been paid. Now the person is asking how will NDC go about it to regain the confidence of the teaching public in the run-up to 2024 elections?
You know, when he said that they were deceived about the arrears, you know, that would not be accurate. You know, having been in the finance ministry myself, what I can say, for instance, is that there's a difference between an inability to do and a deliberate deception of the people. I do not think we engage in a deliberate deception of the people, because if we were people who wanted to deceive as far as the educational sector was concerned, then we could actually have gone deceiving everybody about, remember those allowances, I mean, to the teacher trainees. We were candid enough to say that, listen, on a sustainable basis, if they are tertiary institutions, we should be looking at the possibility of having a loan facility like most tertiary institutions do, which also will enable us to be able to have many more people into our teaching institution, which will become better for the country. It takes courage and honesty to do that. Now, if we were people who wanted to deceive, we could have lied on the platform, even gone ahead with all the, like MPP does, they promise you even all the way to tertiary that they will make everything free. We've never been that kind of people. So to use the word "we deceived," I think will be a little unfair. You can say, yes, we were unable to do, because the truth of the matter is that things were exactly difficult. Maybe people forget, but the whole of 2016, we were able to do all that we did with what you call zero Bank of Ghana financing. I mean, imagine that in an election year. In an election year, you have zero finance from Bank of Ghana. That means not one CD came from Bank of Ghana in the whole of 2016. And in those 4 years, between 2013 and 2016, with the problem we have with the energy crisis, with the difficulty we have with commodity prices and so on, it was a difficult time for the economy. But to be able to go through that final year and still be able to do what we did without even getting one CD from the Bank of Ghana. Remember what happened in the year 2020? MPP got several billions from the Bank of Ghana in election year 2020. Even with that, they still were not able to pay contractors. They still have not been able to provide for many things in this country, with all that huge resource that they got from Bank of Ghana and got from the IMF and so on. And we had to run the whole of 2016, that whole year, including elections, without even one cedi coming from the Bank of Ghana. So it's not so much an issue of deception on our part. No, it was genuine difficulty. MPP has been a deliberate deception on the people. So there's a difference between the two of them. And I say, between us, we can be trusted more. So if there's any group that can be trusted to ensure that things get done, first to be able to tell the truth and to be able to make sure that things get done, we much more than the MPP.
All right, well, let me, once again, before I even take this other question, let me take you on again, because you mentioned about your bit of work at the Ministry of Finance. Our vice president recently came out with, excuse me to say, another set of voodoo economics, where he was, because the last time he said, what is the exchange rate would definitely expose you and all that. We agreed with him. Now, he wanted us to understand that, yes, the inflation and everything is that they have borrowed more, but have been able to keep all these figures low, as compared to us borrowing more, and then we couldn't keep the figures low. Honorable, please, you have worked at the finance ministry, and so you have more knowledge in this area. Can you help us understand how he came out with this sort of voodoo economics?
I was telling you that we are really facing a pandemic,
Yeah.
The leadership that we have at the moment is a real pandemic that this country has faced. But in terms of individuals and their level of, should I call it, if we talk a pandemic for the whole leadership, in terms of the individuals involved, I don't think we've ever seen a politician in our country who lies Lebaumia. I think he's the worst of them all. And for me, it's sad. Because, his father was someone who was attached to us worked closely with President Rawlings. And it's such a shame that, I mean, a son of a man who was close to President Rawlings, who was a man of truth, can become such a chronic liar. It's sad. You know, he says what? They've been able to maintain the figures.
Yeah. they have borrowed more.
Somehow, yeah.
They have borrowed more.
Somehow he conveniently forgets that the only reason why, for example, the cedi over this period has not seen even more depreciation has been, one, the fact that for the first time in our history, they have access to far more oil resources than any government in our history. If you observe carefully, you will know that even in 2016, which was an election year, when we had access to just one oil field, we were able to keep the depreciation on the cedi to a relatively lower level. In fact, in 2018, 2 years after they came into office, they saw depreciation that was more than what we saw in the year 2016. Now, that should tell you that even in 2016, when we already had expectation that growth was going to start becoming more because of the oil resources that were coming on the way, the cedi performance was already starting to stabilize. Now, so what we have seen over this period has been simply an issue of the fact that, one, the oil resources provides what you call a buffer to the central bank. So the central bank, therefore, is able to make the interventions in terms of, but this is not as a result of any greatness in the economy. Now, you will notice as well that the main reason why a lot of portfolio investors, who are mostly foreign portfolio investors, continue to hold our bonds is because they know that worst case scenario, we have oil as a resource. So that gives them an assurance that, you know what, if the possibility that they are going to totally be unable to pay me my interest and my principal is reduced because I already have some oil. So as long as those foreign investors continue to feel that because of oil there is some hope, they will not take their investment out of the country, which investment out of country is what depreciates your currency very rapidly. So effectively they are basking, in the glory of what NDC had bequeathed to them. That is what you are seeing today, that they are boasting about relatively stable, currency. Yeah, you have relatively stable currency because we have bequeathed to you foundations that will enable foreign investors to feel that, okay, worst case scenario, even if you're mismanaging, that oil at least ensures that our monies will continue being paid to us when we buy your coupons or buy your bonds. That is where the whole beginning of this whole thing. But if you want to know exactly how this economy is running, you need to simply take a good look at the basic fundamentals. One, in 2020, we had the worst growth in about 40 years in our country. The worst. And of course, the lie that is because of COVID. But in truth, so many countries around us that had the same COVID still had growth. So if you are having a growth of 0.04,
wow. Another technical hitch. But that is one of the...
And you can also appreciate that when you spend 4 years, and instead of borrowing money to put into what you call development, you were borrowing and using it for consumption, you naturally are going to cause problem to your growth. So the country's growth slumped really because they had not done what you call the necessary investment into the development infrastructure of our country that will ensure a rapid transformation and rapid acceleration of the growth of our economy. If you take, for example,
yeah, another H once again. Sorry to our viewers wherever you find yourself, and we're praying seriously that this thing will be resolved and the Honorable Fifi will be part of us any moment from now. But I believe that there is a question. I think that question has been answered by Honorable Fifi already, because it was like Joseph Nkrumah says, can Honorable kindly assure us as Ghanaians that truly the NDC is a definition of the genuine transformation that Ghana requires, because very often NDC and MPP would engage in counter accusations on who stole more and who stole few. Also, issues of arrogance as exhibited by this administration. How can we be sure that the NDC will not act the same when power is given to it? I believe strongly Honorable Fifi Kwetey did answer that question as the NDC being the engine of transformation of the entire country. At least from the economic point of view to the infrastructure development, from education to the health sector, NDC has always made promises and have always delivered. So I believe strongly that Joseph and Nkrumah, your question has been fully answered. Oh, welcome back, Honorable.
Sorry. I hope this is the final hiccup. There will be.
Sure. Thank you very much for coming again. So could you just conclude on what you are saying? And
so I was saying that so if you look at, for example, what's happened to the debt levels, what happened to the growth levels, what happened to the huge what's it called, development that has been left undone. If you go into the district of this country, the massive development that should have been done for the 4 years that we have not seen, through the period where they were consuming rather than developing the country, you can understand why this economy is struggling. And we are talking about, and they are talking to a group that had actually overseen the longest period of the best fundamentals as far as our country is concerned. You check, for example, our inflation. There's no way they can match what we achieve in inflation. Almost 3 continuous years of single-digit inflation. They are not close to achieving anything close to that. They are not close to achieving the kind of growth levels we have seen, 14.4%, close to 9%, even as at 2012, about close to 9% growth. The same for 2011, the same for 2010. These are things that we have done and we don't even talk a lot about, because we feel this is what you got to do. As a group, do what you got to do and let the people be the judge. But of course, we are dealing with a group that believes that all you need to do is to govern a country, is to get spin doctors and have a lot of slogans and every day use trumpet and shout on top of the roof. If you do 1, you shout that it is 1,000. If you do 100, you shout that it is 10 million. And somehow you get people deceived in order to get votes. So for Bawumia, to be honest, he's going to be exposed more and more. At the moment, I'm sure virtually most people in Ghana now know that he has no credibility. That's a man who lies. That's a man whose word cannot be trusted. And leadership is all about trustworthiness. And if you're a leader whose word cannot be trusted, you are not worth being a leader. And I think he, in particular, is going to be exposed even more.
Wow. That is wonderful, Honorable. And you mentioned their slogans every day. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama also mentioned that they are very good at sloganeering. And just recently, we got this issue of Agenda 111 coming on the heels of the 88 hospitals that were promised last year, and we never saw anything. And notwithstanding that, we had an initial promise of 350 senior high schools within the first 18.
Yeah.
I don't know where those schools are. And we're told that within 2 years of MPP in government, the vice president told us that no community will have issues with water and no community will have issues with toilet. Unfortunately, at the back side of the vice president's own village, that is Wale Wale, there is a water shortage that is running through. The schools that are even in the Wale Wale township, there is no water supply to them. Now, NDC, we came in there, we brought down the Rich Hospital and we put up a magnificent one that everybody is aware of. His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo brought down the La General Hospital to put up a new one. 1 year down the line, there is not a single block that has been put up there. Yet, we have completed health facilities that they do not want to work with.
Yeah.
And they are cutting source for new ones. Is it just a way of trying to tell the people of the country that this is what they want to do, or we didn't do certain things right?
No, it's simply an issue of we don't care how much people suffer. We will do just what it is that we feel is good enough to be able to win us votes. And that's sad. You should never govern a country that way. A country should always be about using the resources to be able to bring the highest level of happiness and fulfillment to your people. And allow the people to make their choice Let the people decide, on the back of what we are saying, we feel you are good, but not to deliberately manipulate the system in order to ensure that all there is about you is to do, what you call a deceitful means to see whether you can win election. It's terrible. And that's why when you realize at the end of the day that in spite of all your deception, somehow the people are not buying into it, then you resort to the gangsterism that we saw on election day by killing people, trying to force your will onto the people because you feel your lies have caught up with you. The people have decided in spite of everything to still vote against you. So that level of desperation, we need to be able to ensure it comes from men. And MPP, unfortunately, in the economic level, in the political level, at every level, it's just been one desperation after another. In fact, that's what I told you earlier. We are dealing here with a bunch of fascists. It's a group of fascists, and they use fascism in every way. In the economic level, it's just a fascist group. In the political level, it's a fascist group. It's a group that is desperate. They believe that, listen, politics is all about using every dirty trick that you have to see whether you can remain in power. And that's unfortunate. That's really, really dangerous.
Honorable, thank you very much for your time. And for all our viewers, wherever you find yourself, we are very grateful for joining us. We're live on Benwayo GH media platforms and all the social media on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and then on Twitter. You can follow us there on this program. Honorable, I'm coming back to you. There's another interesting episode that is unwinding in the country. Recently, we had the rulings on the Cape Coast High Court concerning the Asim North seat. The drama that surrounded it, the speed with which, what will I say, a note was released from Cape Coast to Parliament House before the inauguration was something that nobody could even understand, looking at the distance from Cape Coast to Accra. Notwithstanding that, we went further, and then we had a ruling that the member of parliament for Asim North, at the time of filing his nomination, hadn't renounced his nationality as a Canadian, and therefore he should step aside. We're still waiting. They have gone to do a challenge on it. Notwithstanding this challenge, recently there's a communication that went to the office of the Speaker of Parliament asking the Speaker to declare that seat as vacant. Fortunately, or unfortunately, so fortunately for us, and unfortunately on their part, the response from the Speaker informed them clearly that he cannot declare that seat vacant. Is it an issue of the MPP trying again to use their people in various positions to have this seat declared vacant for a by-election, or that is the right thing to be done?
You nailed it right there. That's what I mean by they are just a bunch of fascists. And these are the people who used to condemn coup makers, These are the hypocrites who used to talk a lot, coup makers. But there's nothing worse than them. Like somebody rightly said, you had in Guinea a coup that's not one blood was shed. But you have right here in Ghana an election presided over by a so-called constitutional leader, and so many innocent people were killed. What we are seeing in that Asim North issue is simply the same continuation. Anything to be able to bastardize their way and to get what they want. That's what it is. Now, so the stance by the Speaker is exactly where it ought to be. If you notice exactly that night when even the Speaker got elected, and even the lie they went through that night to create impression that somehow the Cape Coast Court had already issued an injunction, and that injunction traveled from Cape Coast, from that time to reach the Speaker. This is a desperate bunch. It's a desperate group of people. I'm saying Ghana must awaken to know who these people are. If Ghana doesn't get to know who these people will run down this country. Listen, the economic issues are important, political issues are important, but far more important than any of all this is the value system of our country. And this group,
Their value systems are so degenerate that if you allow this country to remain in their hands, our values will totally collapse. That is the biggest threat to our well-being. As long as MPP continue to be in office, the value system of Ghana will continue collapsing on a day-to-day basis. They have no conscience. These are unconscionable people. They simply do not care, and that's what they've always been. So the young generation must know who they are. And I think that is a message that's not being sounded loud enough. Kwame Nkrumah knew who they were. Jerry Rawlings knew who they were. But I think the current generation is not speaking a lot. Our own NDC, we are not speaking a lot about who these guys are. These guys are dangerous people. Their value system, they have no value. All they care about is power. Anything to do for power, they will. If they have to lie, they will lie. If they have to kill, they will kill. They have to steal, they will steal. They have to manipulate, they will manipulate. They have no conscience. So what you are saying about that scene often is exactly MPP for you. A group that has no conscience. Anything they will do. And if I tell you anything they will do, it means if they have to even brag their way to the highest level, they will. Because they make pronouncement about democracy, they don't believe in it. It's empty talk. I've often used a particular word in the Bible, which Jesus often used for Pharisees. He called them whitewashed graves. They look beautiful on the outside, but you open them up, they are filled with filth, uncleanness, and dead men's bone. That's what MPP represents. Whitewashed graves. And the people of Ghana must awaken to know the danger they pose. All this is a nice talk about democracy, and Akufo-Addo lying about how he believes in it. It's just nothing but a lie. It's just what you call a facade. Underneath all that is nothing but desperation for power, corruption of the highest level, deception of the highest level. These people don't care about Ghana. They care only about themselves. So we need to let the younger generation understand that this nation must be rescued from the clutches of these lords. Otherwise, we are in trouble.
Otherwise, we are in trouble, and we need to rescue the country. Honorable, I wish we could continue. There are more comments coming up. I love Fifi, more fire. You have done your best for the party. You have to do more for Ghana. A lot coming. Greetings from the Nordic chapter of NDC. Greetings from this Nordic, Holland. And greetings from Italy. All the chapters that are the NDC chapters in the diaspora, they send their greetings, and surely we'll keep the conversation going on. And to all our viewers, unfortunately, this is all time will allow us, so we'll give just 1 minute to Honorable to run up, and then we thank you again once again. And next week, Thursday, we will be here again on the program on the ground. So, Honorable, you could please just take about 1 minute to run up.
Yeah, I want to use the opportunity first and foremost to thank you, Jerome, for the opportunity. To be able to speak to all these wonderful people. I want to thank every single one of them. As you rightly said, my eternal weakness is that I'm a bit too blunt, and I know people don't always appreciate that. But when you love your nation, you love your people. You can't help it. You can't help it.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always been very much inspired by Jerry Rawlings, and that's me. I just can't help but say exactly what I know to be the truth. And this country is crying for much more truth to be told. Much more truth to be told. As I said, we are not perfect. NDC, within there are many things that have to change. There are many things that we should be able to do much better. And within, we will continue making sure those reforms happen. But no matter what, you cannot compare us to the MPP. And the country must awaken to that reality. The Nkrumah, Rawlings, NDC from MA group is the better group to handle this country. And making the mistake of committing this country into the hands of these fascists would always be detrimental. So once more, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish them all the best as well.
Thank you very much. And we are very privileged to have you this evening. And the last comment that we take as we go, and I said, please, Honorable, let's continue to be telling the history in full so that the young Ghanaians will understand the history, that NDC and the MPP can never be the same, and they are not the same, and there is no comparison for whatsoever. To my able producer, Chris Payne, thank you very much for your time. And Ben, wherever you are, we are very grateful for joining us. And to all our viewers, thank you very much, and catch you next week, Thursday at the same time. Good night to you all.